Good afternoon, everybody. All right, good afternoon. I'll try to use my teacher voice here with the microphone amplified. Shh. Ooh, okay. All right, so I'd like to welcome everybody, and such a large everybody. This is a wonderful turnout. This is our Silicon Valley Leaders Symposium. And for those of you who don't know me, I am the Dean of the College of Engineering. My name is Cheryl Ehrman. And before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some guests who don't always get a chance to come to these talks, but we're delighted to have them here. So first off, San Jose State's president, Professor, oh my gosh. I know we're all still professors at heart, no matter what, no matter how fancy we look. So President Mary Papazian. And we also have some cabinet members here, so I'd like to recognize Jay Bailey, who is our Vice President for Organizational Development and Strategic Initiatives. We have Bob Lim, who is our Vice President of IT and Chief Information Officer. And I also know that we have numerous colleagues from other parts of campus who also may not have an opportunity to come to these, including urban planning, which is really special. So our first speaker for today, for spring 2019, is Dr. Hong-Yuan Lee, who is the Chief Consultant for the city of Kaohsiung in Taiwan. So Dr. Lee earned his master's and PhD from the University of Iowa, where I'm sure he's pretty happy he's not here in Iowa today, and he's in San Jose, and in the field of civil and environmental engineering. His work in water engineering and sustainable development includes time spent in academic and government roles. After he wrote a viewpoint critical of the hydraulic policy of Taiwan following Hurricane Herb in 1996, he was made the first commissioner of the Water Resources Department of the Taiwanese provincial government and served from 1997 to 1999. He is the former Minister of the Interior of Taiwan, serving from 2012 till 2014. He was also the former Taiwan Minister of the Public Construction Commission and Deputy Magistrate of Taipei County, Taiwan. Hong-Yuan Lee is a professor of hydraulic engineering in the Department of Civil Engineering at National Taiwan University, one of the finest universities on Earth. And here to speak to us today about global climate change, integration, coherence, and government. So thank you very much. Let's welcome our speaker.
Yeah, thank you. President, Dean, Associate President, and professors and classmates. Very nice to come to here to talk about, share some of the experience we have in Taiwan. I'm a hydraulic engineer. I've been teaching in National Taiwan University for 32 years. But for the last 32 years, I always managed to have 2 full-time jobs, but only 1 paycheck. So this is the story I'm going to share with you. Actually, globalization and global warming is the most difficult challenge for most of the countries. And earthquake. This is a scale 5, larger than scale 5 earthquake hit Taiwan. So I can tell you that not a single spot in Taiwan is safe. We are not a very safe country to live, but we have 23 million people. What can we do? Typhoon. Every year, the average typhoon is 4.5. It can be 6, can be 7. It depends on how lucky or how unlucky you are. Actually, the typhoon hit Taiwan. Sometimes it's bigger than the hurricane you have in the east coastal area. So we have to live with disasters. And how can we manage to survive from this kind of disasters? An earthquake can destroy a reservoir. So it will happen again. We cannot pray that the disaster won't come, but we have to make sure we are well prepared when the disaster should come. And the house been shaken upside down. So every major earthquake, actually with the largest earthquake struck Taiwan, it was 1999. So after every earthquake, our ministry, we have to upgrade the construction code. So that we are not very concerned about the buildings built after 99, but we are very concerned about the building built before 99. But actually, the government wants to solve the problem. The dilemma is how much money you are going to spend. We are talking about millions of the houses. So the financial arrangement is actually the key issue. And according to our analysis, in the past, every 19 years, we are going to have a severe flood. Now, every 2 years, we are going to have a severe flood. In the past, every 17 years, we are going to have a severe drought. Now, every 9 years, we are going to have a severe drought. So, flood or drought, nothing in between. So, extreme weather conditions in Taiwan become normal. So, what can we do? In the past, the countries will fight over oil. I think in the near future, the country will fight over water resources. And we are a very young geological situation. Our mountains still growing, but actually our slope is not very unstable. But that's not the point. The point is why you want to build a road here. You build a road here, you believe engineer can solve the problem. I'm a civil engineer. We cannot solve that problem. So now in Taiwan, we finally convinced that we can never fight with nature. How can we survive with nature? And an earthquake can destroy most of the vegetation cover in Taichung area. So ever since the major earthquake, the fate of Taichung area is typhoon, landslides, debris flow, at least for 20 years, even more. So human beings, do we have enough wisdom to survive, to work, to live with the environment? That's a challenge. And this is our farming miracle. Actually, the elevation is 2,000 meters, very high mountains. So we make it become a farmland. We can grow the most delicious fruit, most delicious vegetable, and the teas. But this is the price we spend, causing a lot of soil erosion and landslides problems. So when I used to be a minister, I just say, want to solve that problem? Easy. Just tell the Water Resource Agency, just reallocate 1/10 of the budget. We are going to treat the land and give it to the farmer. The problem is solved. But legally, we can never do that. So what should we do? And we have already lost one third of our reservoir capacity. In Taiwan, we have 50 major reservoirs. It can give us about 8 billion tons of water per year. So in Taiwan, we are now short of 2.6 billion tons of water. By the year 2030, maybe 11 years from now, we are going to lose 50% of our reservoir capacity. That means in Taiwan, we are going to be short of 4 billion tons of water. And you can never to remove the sediment. This technically and economically is not feasible. And build another dam is even not possible. Actually, we decide, even we are going to be short of 4 billion tons of water, but we decide we are not going to build reservoirs anymore. We should do some checks to our kids. We cannot spend all the dam sites. So we are now promoting so-called recycling. We are not going to bring the new water, but we have to recycle most of our wastewater instead of building a new dams. And for the last 40 years, we overpump our groundwater. So now that we're causing a very severe land subsidence problem in Taiwan, we have about 1,800 square meters of our land now is below sea level. And this place in southern part of Taiwan, in Pingtung area, 3.5 meters below sea levels. So I always talk to my Dutch friend, you can reclaim the land. It's not a big deal. We are much better. We can let our land sink under sea. The Dutch, that is a land subsiding, there's a low-lying country, it's 5 meters below sea level. Now we have very successfully let our land 3.5 meters below sea level and still subsiding. So later on, I will going to share you some experience how to solve that problem. Engineer can never solve that problem. If you want to solve that problem, you have to change the land use. You have to redesign the village. You have to give the farmer a new way of living. Otherwise, they can never survive. And even caused the problem to our high-speed rail. The place high-speed rail pass, they subsided about 8 centimeters per year. So have been already accumulated around almost 1 meter, the subsidence in the high-speed rail. So about in the year 2011, at that time I was the Minister of Public Constructions. Want to solve that problem, you have to figure out who caused the problem. So we identified 1,000 deep wells that are causing the land subsidence in the high-speed rail. So I chair a committee. We come up with a working group. We have already very successfully sealed 1,000 deep wells. By sealing 1,000 deep wells, it's not a big deal. You can always seal the well. But you have to solve the water resources problem. If I seal the well, and how can I find the water for those factories, for those farmers? Well, we come up with the action plan. And according to our operation plan, currently we have already controlled the subsidence of our high-speed rail past the place. So now the high-speed rail is safe. It only took me four meetings. We come up with the action plan. So I want to tell you, probably in Taiwan, in most of the country, even the United States, a problem like that, you go to the central government, 5 ministries involved. How can you work as a team? That's the problem. There are so many different disciplines involved. So technically, it's not a problem. This is the river in Taidong area. This is the river before typhoon. This is river after typhoon. And actually, this typhoon in Taiwan area, 3 days, 3,000 millimeter rainfall. 3 meters rainfall in 3 days. The engineer can never recover from this to this. But the dilemma is, this is the jurisdiction of Taidong County. Actually, the local government, they have to operate. They have to manage this river, but they do not have enough capacity. So after typhoon, our central government is very generous. We give them 2.6 billion NT and ask them, you have to restore the water, but they can never do that. So actually, the priority in Taiwan is now, we call it capacity building of the local government. We have to make sure different layers of a government can solve their own problem. And also we have to make sure that how to cooperate between the central government and the local government. So engineer-wise, it's not that difficult, but actually the capacity is more difficult. And this is our reconstruction. Ever starting about 20 years ago, we have already spent 20 billion US dollars to reconstruct all the infrastructure being destroyed by typhoon earthquake. This road was destroyed in 1999 by the big earthquake. We put it back 2004, then destroyed again 2005, then we put it back 2006. We keep doing that. Now we decide, no, we are not going to do things like that. But it's easy to say, very difficult to implement. How can you solve that those people live in the mountain area? How can you solve their transportation problem? And this is another typical case. It's a very beautiful elementary school in the mountain area. Was very beautiful in 96, destroyed by Typhoon Her. And we reconstructed in 97, destroyed by earthquake in 99. And 2001, we have a new school, and destroyed by Typhoon Morak, 2009. And 2011, we have another school. So this picture tells you we are very tough. We can always survive. But I want to give you a number. Typhoon Her, 2 days, 1,800 millimeter rainfall. There's actually 15 months rainfall. It happens in 2 days. It will happen every 1,000 years. Typhoon Morak, as I mentioned, 3 days, 3,000 millimeters. every 2,000 years, we are going to have a rainfall like that. Scale 7 earthquake every 100 years. If you believe in statistics, that is about 200 million, 1 to 200 million. It's even difficult to buy a Lotus, to win the Lotus, but this school has a bad luck. You just face it. Actually, this is the problem we are now facing in Taiwan. Every village, every city, it's very likely we are going to have a 2,000 millimeter rainfall. It's very likely we are going to have a scale 7 earthquake. So what should we do? We cannot pray the disaster won't come, but we have to make sure we are well prepared when the disaster should happen. So now I'm going to share you, we call it resilient smart city. How can we solve our city flood problems? This is Houston. Okay, not new to you. City get flooded, actually 3 times in the recent histories. And Taipei, year 2001, Typhoon Nali, half the city been destroyed. But I can guarantee no things like that will happen again. Because I will tell you, we built a very huge infrastructure to solve the Taipei flood problem. Taipei is now, we are not going to have a large scale flood. It's also, we can only have local drainage problem because we call it Taipei flood defense projects. Actually, when I used to be the Director General of Water Resource Agency back in 1997, actually this project was finished under my term. We protect the whole big Taipei area with a huge dike and hundreds of pumping stations and hundreds of the water gate. It's all protected. And we have the most sophisticated and accurate flood warning systems. According to our analysis, Danshui River 6 hours ahead, we know exactly what the water surface and discharge. In the year 97, in my office in Taichung, I can, through internet, to operate the operation in Taipei that was 200 kilometers away. At that time, that was the most advanced and accurate flood warning system in the world. We spent about $2 billion to solve that problem. In 97, it's very expensive. It took us 30 years to finish this project. But Taipei still get flooded. Now, but on this base, we call it Smart River. Smart River. With all the data, all the sensor, we collect the data, make the simulation, and we can do a lot of prediction, and this combined with operation of our disaster management. So actually, we have a quite successful experience in this aspect. To share the story, about 32 years ago, I just returned from the States back to Taiwan. At that time, NEC of Japan, they are very generous. They can say, we can give you a courtesy free, the software and hardware. We can give you everything free. But we very politely say no to our Japanese friend. We designed all the software and hardware all by ourselves, but now I can tell you our system is even better than the system they have in Japan. So about last year, I was invited to Tokyo to share a story with my Japanese colleague. I told them 30 years ago, we very politely said no, but now we can help you. So this is a smart watershed. And of course, there are lots of software, a lot of technology involved. And here, actually, I want to tell you that in Taiwan, probably the difference between the university in the States and your government agencies. Our university work very closely with our government. So we develop all the software, all the hardware, and probably next year, the government can use it. So this is something we do not waste our money. All the money can be used by the government. So most of software are developed by the universities. So we work very closely together. And of course, smart rivers, now we have all kinds of decision supporting systems that can operate, really applied. But spend so much money, have such a good software, and yet Taipei still get flooded. Because now it calls extreme weather conditions. In Taipei, we have all the, we call it design criteria, safety criteria. We all put it on the so-called 200-year, the height of the dike, and the certain capacity of the drainage system. But now extreme weather condition tells you it will fail, for sure. But we have to make sure that if it should fail, the city can survive. This is called resilience. How to redesign, we call it water-sensitive urban planning and design. So how to use non-structural measures to solve our flood problem in the cities. In the past, structural measures, or we also believe structural measures. So, of course, city become bigger and bigger in Taiwan, in China, all over the world. City become bigger and bigger. But since so many people live in the city, you are going to we call it a heat island. So change your microclimate. Actually, in Taipei, for the last 100 years, our annual rainfall increased 265 millimeters, but our raining days decreased 1 month. That means the rain becomes heavier and heavier, and the raining days become shorter and shorter. So this is the problem we are now facing. And we have to share. We have a lot of guidance models and all the regulations. And actually, the multiple benefits, how to value those benefits. 50 years ago, most people are farmers. There's not very expensive facility. But now, no, you cannot allow water to enter your factory, even for 1 second. So sometimes I give a seminar, talk to people, they're talking about smart city. I say, yes, it's very smart, looks very fancy, but what if it gets flooded? It's not smart at all. So we have to have a resilient city first, and then you have the smart. If not waterproofing, there's no such thing as a smart. So how to operate a resilience balance between structure and non-structures? And now I'm going to share you that we call it demonstration site. We do have some successful experience. And the trend is the system become even more complicated because of economic development, because of weather conditions. And we have to smart, sustainable resilience, and of course, very importantly, the role of local government. Is the city government, they have to solve the problem. Sometimes the central government, they have very good policy, but you go to the local government, they do not necessarily understand what's going to happen. Actually, it's very typical in China. All the policy in Beijing can be very smart, but you go to the provincial level, go to the county level, actually, it's not like that. So the role of the local government is very important, and we have to change the attitude of our citizens. The people or the citizens have to appreciate. And of course, we have to change resumes between internationally and good practice. So it's a highly dynamic environment and uncertain. Actually, the risk is uncertain. It depends on how much money you are going to spend, depends on how much is the risk. So we are trying to solve those things. In the past, we all discussed this. Now we have to try those things. Those things is when the water comes above your design criteria. So resilient-based approach, I'm going to skip that. So this is the little rain. This is, we call it day-to-day operation. Now, design. This is a drainage rain. This is a design. But we never touch that issue. We call it extreme rain. When the extreme rain comes, we are talking about domain. There's a domain of resilience, urban resilience and spatial planning. Hydraulic engineer can never touch that. So now we changed the mindset. In the past, as I say, we have all the safety relied on those high dike. But now we changed the concept. We are going to design for failure. Engineers said, no, it's not just system, it's safe system. It will fail when extreme weather comes. So we have to make sure that if the system should fail, the city still maintains certain operation. It will not shut down. This is a typical picture in Dutch, in the Netherlands. You can see The water is over window, but water did not enter the room. This gentleman doesn't have to leave his home. So we have to make sure that, considering this is Doric. Doric is very close to Rotterdam. So we have to make sure that we call it resilience. How to design the resilient city, considering those houses 100 years old, still waterproofing. Of course, you need a lot of space underground. We call it underground reservoirs. Actually, in the States, in Chicago, Milwaukee, you have this kind of facility, but it's very expensive, very expensive. And this is the ordinary landscape in Delft, in the Netherlands. When the flood comes, it will look like this. So we design our landscape with detention basin. They have a multiple purpose. So we have to make sure that the resilience of city becomes bigger and bigger. Now we have to look at the whole city as a catchment, and that's Amsterdam. Okay. So when I used to be the Minister of the Interior, I asked them to change the regulation. The land developer, they want to develop the land from left-hand side to right-hand side. Yes, they can do that. They have to make sure not a single drop of water more can be released from their side. Every single drop of the water has to treat it on site. So that's the cost of the development. The government cannot say, okay, the developer making a lot of money, and the government has to step in and clean the mess. No, we don't do that. That's their obligation. So actually, we call it this sponge city. The water can be penetrate and the reserve underground. Actually, these two of my students' PhD theses, 2 PhD theses and 5 master theses. So the water be penetrate and how to go into the existing drainage facility. So in the past, city become bigger and bigger, the runoff become bigger and bigger, and government busy building the canal. Canal become bigger and bigger, and yet the city get flooded. So my idea is those green spots is bioswale, detention basin, rain garden, and tree box, everything. We call it low impact development, from small system to medium system to larger system. Using urban design measures to solve the city flood problem. You can also call it water-sensitive urban planning and design. It's very easy to say, but it's very difficult to implement. In the central government, 3 ministries involved. In the local government, 5 bureaus. In a university, 3 disciplines. Our water sector will never talk to architect, will never talk to urban planner. We have to work as a team. That's a key issue. So LID, low impact development is one spot. Green infrastructure is a line. Smart city actually is a plan. How can you work from a dot to a line to a plan? So we are now promoting so-called blue and green infrastructure, increasing the serve as a flood over the design criteria. And from gray to green, actually this is urban green infrastructure. So all kinds of infrastructures can be seen in the city, and they also solve a function to retain the water. And urban green infrastructures, there are so many disciplines involved. And of course, Philadelphia actually is the most comprehensive network for green infrastructure in the United States. And Singapore, they are very successful in this field, but Singapore is a relatively small country, it's only the city. So maybe it's much easier for them to manage. And Germany, Stockholm. Stockholm, we call it European Green Capital City. So we are talking about the low impact development is storm management, water resource management, and create a good environment. Actually, in the flood area, we focus on storm management. In the dry area, yes, we call it rain harvest. We can recycle the wastewater, we can harvest the rainwater, solve your water shortage problem, and create a good environment. By doing that, your value of your land will increase. Most of the mayor will be very happy to see that. And you, of course, you have all kinds of privilege. And this one, you can see, this is a traditional drainage system. It's a very expensive infrastructure. But if you manage to keep some of the water underground, you can see the investment of your drainage system is very limited. So we call it best management practice. You want to solve your flood problem, it do not necessarily you have to spend a lot of money. And comparing these trees grows much better than these trees. So this house is more expensive than this house. So you have a lot of benefits. And as I mentioned, this place is 2.6 meters below sea level. And I was a project manager trying to solve that problem, and the land still keeps subsiding. So in the last 40 years, we have been spending a lot of money on structure measures, but no matter how much money government spend on structure measures due to land subsidence, within 4 years, it will go back to the original situations. So we decided, no, we are not going to do that. But before that, you have to talk to the farmers. You have to dialogue. You have to know their problem. You had to let them know what government is going to do, and everybody work as a team. Actually, this is called participatory decision making. The expert cannot say, I'm an expert, I give you a master plan, and you have to swallow it. No, it won't work anymore. So you have to talk to the farmers. Then we come up with a plan, special planning. The farmer surrendered their farmland. They took 50% back. The government owned 50%. And the land government owned, I make it a very big detention basin. The detention basin I designed for this place is 50 square kilometers. It's a very big area, about 8 waste lake if you're from China. You know how big it is. A very big detention basin, as there are so many vegetation covers sitting there. By doing that, I solved the first problem, and this will be the most beautiful area in Southeast Asia. And I took the soya, all the birds will come here. I took the soya from here to elevate the village, and the government, interest-free, borrow money to the farmers, build a beautiful land. Just by doing that, real estate increased 100 times. And teach them, guide them to do tourism. You don't overpump groundwater anymore. So we call it holistic approach. The money is not a problem. We have enough money for that. The most difficult problem is in our cabinet, 5 ministries and 10 agencies involved. How can we work as a team? The policy, the conflict between each other. For this project in our executive yuan, it took us 4 years to dialogue. 4 years to solve a cutting-edge problem, and finally we said, let's do it. So it took us 4 years. But next time will be quicker. And this is the project I run when I used to be the vice mayor of New Taipei City. The New Taipei City, we have 4 million people. It was 4 million people, a very heavily polluted canal. This city, it's about 500,000 people. 50% of the sewage come to this canal. It become very bad smell, heavily polluted, and get flooded. But all the people, we Taiwanese, we are very kind, we are very generous. We always say, yes, it has to be polluted. Nobody complain. The sewage has to have a bad smell. So for 30 years, nobody complained. When I was the vice mayor, the very first week, I invite 5 director generals come to my office from water resources, EPA, from transportation, and land development. They come to my office. I ask my colleague, this polluted canal has to become a canal with clean water within 4 years. Why 4 years? A term of mayor is 4 years. But that's not the point. The point is I'm a hydraulic engineer. I design by myself. It's very simple. Oops. I built 2 box covers to intercept most of the sewage and divert them to a concentrated wastewater treatment plant and put it back. As simple as that. And rebuild all the ugly bridges. It used to look like this. Oops. Look like this. After 4 years, now, water is clean. Beautiful. Beautiful. Government spent about, we got 2.3 billion NT. 100 million US dollar. Actually, it's a small amount of money. Just by doing that, the real estate increased 3 times in the neighborhood. But the most difficult part is I was the project manager for this project. I facilitate the dialogue. Those 10 director general, they have to have a meeting with me every 2 weeks. The meeting for me is very easy. You don't have a meeting with me. The only 2 principles. No bullshit. Bring the problem, I solve your problem. And the second one is the words you speak this time can never repeat next time. We always have a progress. So by doing that, actually, I educate my colleague. You have to work as a team. What problem comes, you have to talk to each other. My job is to solve the cutting-edge problem. So I changed the culture of a government operation. So the project, 4 years, done, no conflict, and also I invite all the people involved. I want to use this I want to turn the whole city, to change the whole city. So we call it green community empowerment. We invite all the schools, all the NGOs, everybody involved. For this project, I spent 100 years to go to this city, 100 hours, not years, 100 hours to talk to them. The very first day I go there, I told them, you live here, I don't live here. You better pay more attention than me. You own the project, it's not the government own the projects. You decide what you are going to do. So decision making is bottom up, not top down. We call it participatory decision making. So 4 years, no protest, no arguments, everybody work as a team. And everything's on site. This is only huge projects operate by internet. I asked my director general, it's open to the public. I asked my director general of the water services, should any people raise the question, you have to answer his question within 7 days. If the question is useful, give it to architect, integrate to our designs. So we call it e-government. E-government. And actually, when I was a minister, I asked my colleague to collect all the data on spatial planning. After 1 year, all the data in Taiwan on spatial planning is on websites. If you can type T-goals, all the data is here. It's there. And in our country, we have what we call it open data policy. Our data has to be transparent and share with most of our citizens and the university. So we have a cloud, but next one is you have to do the data mining, decision supporting system, scenario analysis, policy, action plan, and budget allocation. I use in this slide to tell my colleague, politics need sound scientific backup. When you make a decision, you have to make sure that you are very clear. Somebody to do that analysis for you. We want to make sure every single penny is spent on the target. And actually, there are lots of software were developed by our universities. That's what I mean. We work very close together. So this is the flood danger zone. It's done by Water Resource Agency. We only show you Northern Taipei. For the whole Taiwan we have done. And this is a disaster, landslide danger zones, and this is debris flow. It used to be scattering among different ministries. I asked my colleague, overlap those maps becomes, we call it integrated hazard map, done for the whole country. I got this map is year 2013. It was a very difficult decision for me. Am I going to release this map? It's going to create chaos. Politically going to create chaos because a lot of people live in a very expensive area and it's not safe. A lot of government infrastructures are situated in it's a not very safe area. But I decide not to directly release this map, but you visit our website, it's there. Actually, this map is for the expert to read it, not for you to buy your home. It's not for that purpose. So I gave it to the local government. I asked them to upgrade your urban planning, redesign your urban planning. So the government, in the near future, the land use of Taiwan depends on the different degrees of the risk. So it was 20 years projects. 20 years projects, and we have, within 20 to 30 years, we have to come up with a holistic approach, holistic policy to reallocate people, to reallocate our infrastructures. Actually, they were going to generate, looked like we are going to spend a lot of money, but end up we are going to generate a lot of revenues. And disaster management. We have to make sure that we can manage our disasters. We have to make sure when the disaster issue comes, we are well prepared. And also we have to make sure how to restore the area being destroyed. So when I was appointed minister, it took me 3 years to design the whole commanding systems. I asked the Director General, Chief of our firefighting agency, the mission I gave him is when typhoon comes, no matter how far away the village is, no matter what happens, they have to survive by themselves at least 7 days. Why? When the hurricane comes, the bridge collapses, the road collapses, the helicopter can enter the place 4 days later. If those people can survive by themselves, then not much government can do. But the most important thing is the whole commanding system. And redesign all the standard operation procedure, write all the protocols. But all the information, manpower are all in Taipei. How can we make sure different level of a government, the chief of the tribe, they have enough resources, information, manpower to survive by themselves for 7 days. I drove 7,835 disaster mitigation maps. Why 7,835? In Taiwan, we have 7,835 villages. Every village has a map. We live in the city area, this map has nothing to do with us. You live in the mountain area, if you cannot understand this map, you will end up get killed. This map is in a very high mountain area. Actually, in this place, year 2009, Typhoon Morak struck in the neighboring area, killed 700 people. This is a neighborhood. So I visited the chief of the tribe, and he's very proudly told me that using this map, he reorganized his villagers to 8 groups. When the hurricane comes, some people watch the water stage, some people knock the door, some people reallocate the elder people, and some people design the shelter to prepare the shelter. Using this map, he has already saved 32 lives. And all the shelters, 1 month's food. We have to make sure, design for the worst condition. Enough food for everybody for 1 month. This map tells you how the debris flow is going to come, which road you are going to escape, we evacuate, and which road you can take to save them, and where is the location of the shelter. And when you run into a problem, those are the telephone. the phone number, the name of the personnel you should call. And this is the things, the equipment you have to prepare, and this is some of the knowledge, what is the debris flow. And this, when I used to work as a New Taipei City, the hydraulic lab of Taiwan University helped them design, do the simulation. We called it real-time flood simulation. At that time, when the Central Weather Bureau told us that they are going to have a 600 millimeter rainfall in Xinzhuang area, I can open my laptop, I can tell you area, location, how deep the water is, how many people lives there, their name, their phone number, their email, all in my laptop. I asked the Director General of the Water Resource Department and Firefighting Department, within 30 minutes, you have to be there. Either start evacuating people or start pumping water. So ever since year 2009 here, about 2 years ago, in our city, not a single casualty. Zero. So we combine our research of the water resource, hydraulic engineering with our disaster management. So I bring it to the whole country. And this is our university do the last debris flow simulation. So this church has only 2 minutes to escape. So it can tell you that the idea of the debris flow, when it comes, you only have 3 minutes, no more. So you cannot hesitate, you cannot go back to take the cash, to take the jewelry, there's no time for you. And this simulation actually is for our disaster operation, but also it can serve as a base for our reconstruction. If you did not do the simulation, how can you know where, how to reconstruct your village? So it serves dual purpose. So 7,835. How can I draw those maps within 2 years? Our firefighting agency, they don't have capacity, they don't have manpower, they don't have knowledge. And I'm running against time. Every year delay, many more people get killed. So I identify all the disaster research agency for all the universities from north to south. I generate a partnership between the University Research Institute and our local government. For example, Taiwan University, we are the coach of Taipei and New Taipei. Central University, they are coach of Hong-Yuan and Hsinchu, and so on. So I'm not going to repeat those universities. The university professor and graduate students help the mayor, the local government to draw the map, make sure they understand the map. So every year when the typhoon season comes, we run two classes. The one short course is I invite the mayor to the classroom, tell them when the expert give you a knowledge, how can you transfer into an action plan. The second class is for professors. I invite the professor to the classroom, teach them how to speak a language people can understand. So within 3 years, we solve our flood problems. As I mentioned, year 2009, 700 people get killed. Now, 0, almost 0. And all the research capacity of our university get improved, and the capacity of the local government get built, and not too much money spent. Actually, with the budget we spend is very limited. And communication. Actually, during the disaster times, communication is very important. We have to make sure that from my Commander General's office, I pick up the phone, I can reach you, and you pick up the phone, you can reach me. So all kinds of communication. Every village have the 2 independent satellites. During ordinary times, 1 month we talk for the whole nation. During typhoon season, every week we talk with each other. So I can very proudly to tell you that we are the most typhoon or hurricane-proven country in the world. So about 2 years ago, I was invited by the U.S. House and Urban Department to Washington, D.C. to share the knowledge of how can we fight against our typhoon, to share our information. And they invited me to go to Houston to help Houston rehabilitate. So I'm now still working on that. So, conclusions. Actually, we have to monitor. There's a lot of adaptation have to be done. And we have to seize the opportunity. Actually, every crisis is a business opportunity. So we have to seize the opportunity, and more importantly, do more with less. You do not necessarily spend a lot of money to solve your problem, as I mentioned, best management practice. And also work with partners. Actually, the project I show you, interdisciplinary dialogue, interagency coordination. That's the most difficult part. And design for failure. There's no such thing as absolutely safe. How can we design for failure? And the government operation need a very strong coordination. I think this is the end of my story. Thank you.
Would you be willing to answer a couple
Sure.
questions? Okay,
Yeah.
so if there's questions, especially from students, please raise your hand and we can circulate a mic. Okay, I have a question.
Yes?
How well do the local governments coordinate with each other? Or does
Yeah.
that have to be facilitated by the central government? Because what you do with water in one place may have an adverse effect
Yeah.
in another place.
Actually, central government, we have to step in to help them doing the capacity building. But the capacity, the manpower of central government is also very needed. So it's very limited. So the university play a very important role. So the university is the coach of the coach. So the university in Taiwan help our government a lot. Of course, by doing that, the university earn a lot of grants.
All right, this sounds good to us. I think we can learn here. So are there questions from a student? Faculty? Staff?
Yes, there.
Okay, yeah.
You talked quite a bit about flooding. I know that flood and drought are connected. And can you offer any advice to the state of California,
Yeah.
which suffers from drought a
Yeah.
lot?
Okay. Actually, because of the time limit, I skipped the water recycling. Actually, in Taiwan, when I used to work for the government, we have already decided to recycle most of our wastewater. The amount, the wastewater we can recycle is 2.85 million tons of water per day. There's a water usage for 10 million people. So if now it's already 8 water recycling factory has been done at this time. But now the policy in Taiwan is we are going to recycle most of our wastewater. By doing that, solving our water crisis and establish our capacity, and we are generate the industry, then we can sell our technology, making a lot of money. So turn your crisis into business opportunity. Yes, we have already done that, and that becomes a priority of our government operation.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lee. I think in the interest of time, we've got to wrap up, but we don't want you to leave without presenting you with some special gifts.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be a trip to Silicon Valley.
Okay, thank you.